Hey, whoa, it's Dominic D'Angelo. It's a Monday. It's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. But I'm happy to be back here on a Monday to talk a little wrestling with Mr. Robert Karpelis, WD Creative _ish, Robert, TGIM. Happy Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday. That's for damn sure. It's nice to have you back. I know on Friday we had Kevin Kellum on, which was a lot of fun. We got to talk a little bit of Chapel Roan, which tends to wind up happening while he's on there. A little bit of Matt Riddle, a little bit of the Chicago wrestling world and the Chicago music world. None of that stuff's going to be happening today. We are here to talk SmackDown. We're going to talk a new title. We're going to talk Raw preview. We're going to start off today. It is Veterans Day here in the United States, so I think we would be remiss if we don't start giving a shout out to all the veterans out there who are listening to this. Thank you for your service. Thank you to the Marine John Cena, to Sergeant Slaughter,
Yes.
Corporal Kirshner, and anybody who fought in the Monday Night Wars.
Don't forget Greg Gagne, who trained with Sergeant Slaughter up in AWA there.
I've already forgotten Greg Gagne.
We'll
say hi to Dre Owens, who says, made it back to a live show. First U.S. Women's Champ needs to be Chelsea Green. Funny enough, myself and Scott Chaplin recorded on the Working Stiff Patreon, which should be up and available. If it's not up yet, it'll be up there any moment. Yes, we talked about Chelsea Green being the U.S. Women's Champion and how funny it would be for her to do a Lex Express style run. Wrestling Old Head says, happy Monday, RNI Tribe. Over and under, we get a women's IC title announcement on Raw tonight. I don't think so.
Interesting.
Just because it seems like there's some rumblings, there's some rumors floating around out there that SmackDown may wind up extending its time when it goes once this current USA deal comes into effect. So they need a secondary women's title. I don't think adding a secondary women's title to Raw right now is necessarily the right idea. Lou 4237 just says good morning RNI, and Willie Thornbrew says not sure why we need that. Thank God that said titles. I misread that. Not sure why we need more.
Who doesn't?
Jeff,
it's not the man show.
Jeff Henninger says last Friday was the return of the pile driver to WWF and not Vince singing Stand Back.
We'll talk about that.
We will talk. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Dom, you steer the gimmick here. And Ron Ward points out he remembers Corporal Kirshner and forgets Major Guns. Major Guns was Canadian, and I believe this is U.S. Veterans Day. So we're going to show some integrity here, but she was part of a stable with friend of the show Lance Storm. So sure, let's give a shout out to Major Guns.
What about Misfits in Action? Do they get a hat tip?
No, there is no love for General Erection. But guys, nope. Sorry. No. As much as Booker T's commentary in NXT is challenging, we don't want to remind anybody of his time as GI Bro. Nobody deserves that.
My goodness. Well, hey, did we deserve SmackDown this week? I thought it was a good show. I caught highlights of it, but what I saw, I really liked. So let's talk about it, Robert. The Bloodline kicks things off, and Sami Zayn wants Roman to acknowledge, not him. He wants to apologize. I'm sorry. He wants an apology, not for him, but for Jey Uso. And Roman gets a little testy about that. Does not really acquiesce to that, and considers Sami not family, not even honorary. And Sami leaves the ring. He wants Solo. We'll get that later on. But what did you think of this opening segment, Robert, and the setup of all this? And Roman kind of still being that tribal chief kind of heel identity too, blended in.
So I think right now Roman's character is literally just Fonz, not your Fonzie, but he is the Fonz who can't apologize, who can't say he's sorry, and there's a little bit of this is the character growth in Roman Reigns. Roman was a guy who was the unquestioned tribal chief and had everybody aligned with him. He had to kind of bend the knee a little bit and say yeet to bring Jey Uso back and to even admit that he needed help from people. And now to need it from Sami, who wants to make it even more obnoxious by saying, hey, you got to apologize to Jey Uso, as if Sami's the guy calling shots.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this setup. I love Roman saying, like, look, you're not part of this family, and teasing what we're going to see in the main event later on in the broadcast. Those of you who tune into Rumor and Innuendo, those of you that are Rumor and Innuendoins or listen to Working Stiff, you all know where I've been saying all along this is going to. And if this is ultimately leading to Sami turning on the original bloodline, these little moments right here are absolutely fantastic.
Interesting. Yes, I was going to ask you. I know we're going to get to the closing part of the show, but I was going to ask you if you still firmly believed in that happening, still going down. Your thought process.
Yeah, I nothing on this show made me waver in my opinion of what's going to happen here. I'm firm on it. I'm rock solid. And guys, here it is. Our next sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times, and I bet there's a big part of you, pun intended, that wants to try it. What am I talking about? Blue Chew. Heard you make a weird noise there. That was strange. That's right. This isn't your grandpa's blue pill. This is the one. Just like they held up at the end of SmackDown, the OG tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you are approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Guys, you want to be more solid than the bloodline was at the end of this episode of SmackDown, because when you're holding up the one, you don't want that one pointing to the air to be your finger, because Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. They told us that's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. We have a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free. We use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this Monday edition of Rumor and Innuendo.
Yes. Thank you, Blue Chew. Bailey didn't want to thank Candice LeRae because she defeated her in a singles match. Candice tried to get a little tricky, acting like she was hurt. She's done this before. I've seen this. I've seen it. And Bailey did too, scouted it, got the pin on her. And it built for a little story later on, too, in the tag match moving forward. So what'd you think of this? They really got to do something here with Bailey as a babyface. They got to repackage her, kind of give her a fresh coat of paint, if you will, Robert. What do you think, though?
Yeah, as soon as I saw this match happening, I'm happy that Candice LeRae is going to be utilized on TV. I know Indy Hartwell being released was not easy on her or on Bailey, who tweeted at her support of Indy being a real remarkable talent. This match was just kind of there for me. Yes, it forwarded that, hey, Bailey got a quality win, I suppose, but Bailey as a pure babyface doesn't hold a ton of excitement.
No, they gotta merge her old character. I think the hugger back. I think a little bit, do something neat. Yes, we teased a little tension, not just with the bloodline, but in DIY as well. Tommaso Ciampa's a little not too pleased with how the tag division has been going for him. We get that a little bit later on, but then we get the segment between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Kevin Owens delivers a banned pile driver to Randy Orton, and my goodness, the after effects of Randy getting ambulanced out, everything like that. Robert, we mentioned this in the Working Stiff group chat. Not a very effective or devastating looking pile driver, but it is banned.
Here's where the creative hat comes on first and foremost. The way that this was pitched, the way this was structured, the way this was probably presented in the room makes a lot of sense. You needed to advance the idea that Kevin Owens is dastardly and he's doing stuff that nobody else does. That his attacks don't even get shown on TV. He's not allowed to cut promos. WWE banned the pile driver. They banned it in real life because partially it is a dangerous move. It's something that can be executed safely like any other pro wrestling move, but it is a move where it is very person specific and opponent specific. How you're landing, where you're landing, when you're landing, how high or how low your neck is positioned, and they ultimately realized that the risk is worse than the benefit as far as WWE was concerned. That the way that people's necks were being compressed, the risk of genuine paralysis, even if it is remote, they're like, look, there's plenty of other stuff we can do. Maybe we just don't need the pile driver. So in WWE world, it is a banned move. In WWE world, Randy Orton's punt can kill you essentially.
Yes.
I can watch a guy get put through a table, lit on fire, and then hit in the head with a chair, and he's back on TV the next week. But if he got hit with that punt, he could be off television for 7-8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Suspension of disbelief here. So the idea that Owens would do a band move to a guy with the back issues that he has, and then you need the EMTs and all that, totally get it. Love that creative, sold. In terms of execution, it was a little bit like watching someone put a newborn down into their crib.
It really was.
You also, to those of you who are like really upset about it, two things to keep in mind. Number one, if they would have gone the other direction and tried to really sell this, do you want to risk permanently injuring Randy Orton?
No.
Absolutely not. Number two, we know that one of the best assets WWE has is their production team, are the folks behind the scenes who will make this in all video packages going forward look truly devastating. What they should have done was, because you had all those agents and officials out there at ringside, you could have used one of them to kind of obscure the actual landing if you were that concerned. And still seeing, oh my God, what just happened? This is insanity. They didn't. This was what it was. It was executed safely. They will recut it to make it seem more devastating than you may remember in your mind's eye. And in months and years and centuries going forward, you will still think Brock Lesnar hit that shooting star press at WrestleMania.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I would have been. You mentioned the punt, and we mentioned this in the group text too. I would have been all for Kevin Owens actually bringing back the punt, because since that's Randy Orton's move, he brings that band move back in, and then that tells a story further on. You can get eventually a Randy Orton heel turn out of it because the open Pandora's box, the punt is back, and the evil Randy is back. Go up against Cody. I think that would have been a good way to set the storyline, but. Yeah, not the best in the execution of it all, but I do appreciate the acknowledgement of, hey, this move's been banned forever, and here's why, and we hope Randy Orton's okay. So that's kind of it, Robert. I thought overall, yeah, positive stuff from this. We also had, speaking of DIY, we had them defeat Pretty Deadly. Hey, but Johnny Gargano did not even get tagged in. It was all Ciampa. He gets the win. And then later on, we figure out that they're not even going to be the number one contenders against Motor City Machine Guns. It will be the Street Profits. And Tommaso Ciampa is not happy about that either. What do you think of this? Is this an intriguing thing for the tag division? Do you like DIY doing this almost heel turn and Johnny being the kind of like guy along for the ride, so to speak? Or what's your thoughts on this, Robert?
Yeah, so the challenge that they kind of run into is if you split DIY, if Johnny Gargano decides, I don't subscribe to Ciampa's ideology, those guys as single stars are in real trouble with that SmackDown world right now. They can each be used as cannon fodder. I think in your mind's eye, you can easily see where Gargano could be fed to a Jacob Fatu or a Solo Sikoa as a quick victory. Same kind of thing with Tommaso Ciampa. You want to get a babyface over, put him over Ciampa quickly. If they are a heel unit, and they have a chance to really open things up a little bit, I think those guys and the Motor City Machine Guns having a little bit of a rivalry for several weeks or so, that's going to be really good quality television. Gargano was always an entertaining heel. Ciampa's a great heel. Their response as baby faces of late has been somewhat muted. So I think a deeply personal rivalry with the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY kind of benefits all parties.
I'm with you. I think that's the way to handle this. And yeah, I think we've seen Gargano be capable of being a great heel, and obviously Ciampa's great at that too. So I think, and hey, the Motor City Machine Guns are ultimate tag team baby faces, so I like that a lot too. Good combo there. Um, Another tag match. We had Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defeat Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax. Oh my God, Candice LeRae did try to insert herself into the match, but it was to no avail as Bianca Belair got the pin on Tiffany Stratton. What do you think of this, Robert?
This was fine. We're setting up. We're going to see on Raw tonight, which we'll talk about in a few moments. That it's the Raw version of this, of the Raw Women's Champion and her heater. This was the SmackDown Women's Champion and her. I don't want to call Tiffany Stratton a heater, but she's sort of her hanger on, her number two. In this, it's good for quality wins for Bianca and Jade when there wasn't really another tag team immediately ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like a bigger match than it probably would have been otherwise. It was a good way to further the Tiffany Stratton Nia Jax story. It's a good way to further remind you that Bianca and Jade is a single star. Either one of them can be a threat going after the women's title or potentially that U.S. women's title.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think them as a tag team too, it further establishes the women's tag division, and that's always a good thing as well. Speaking of the Motor City Machine Guns, they defeated A-Town Down Under. I just thought this was a fun, good match. Great way to showcase the Motor City Machine Guns. They get to finish the Cross and Bones. I think it's Skull and Bones. I can't remember what the name of the finisher is, but it's cool, and I liked it, Robert.
This is why you sign the Motor City Machine Guns. Let them go out there, have matches with younger talent. Let that younger talent get an opportunity to shine a little bit, learn how to work with some established veterans. I enjoyed this across the board. I thought this was a really smart decision.
Yeah. And as we mentioned it before, I thought this was a smart decision. But Nick Aldis announces a new Women's United States Championship. No details on how it will be earned, as Nick Aldis mentioned. But yes, I think this is kind of a little bit long overdue. But yeah, it'll be. I'm kind of with you, Robert. I think you made a good point about it. They're not necessarily meaning that it's going to be a women's Intercontinental Championship announced on Raw either. So.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they went ahead and did that. I just think that's too much all at the same time. But the women's division on NXT, which we saw last week, we saw 14 different women on that episode of NXT look remarkably impressive. We're not really seeing that as much on the Raw and SmackDown side. So giving this sort of secondary title, giving, them a chance to shine a little bit. You look at a Naomi, you look at a Mishin, Piper Niven. I think this may also be an interesting opportunity to bring Charlotte Flair back.
Interesting. Yeah.
It is a first ever title, and Charlotte holding that title instantly makes that title that much more intriguing.
That's a great point. What do you think of the look of it? I'm not.
It's the smaller version of the U.S. title. The U.S. title it's fine. It's creating some degree of parity, which I don't necessarily mind. It doesn't spin, so that's a big plus.
It's true.
Biggest problem with the spinners, guys, is when they break, like John's broke, you can't really fix it. It's very tough to fix because it's behind that leather. It's a pain in the ass, and that spinner belt was broken for quite a while, and it just was like this dilapidated kind of like a lethargic hamster on a wheel.
Can we just glue it? I can't believe that title stuck around for so long.
Because it's sold so many belts. It sold so many, and I'm calling it a belt because it was literally there for like Mattel or whoever to sell. I think it was Jack specific, maybe at that time. Mike Lawrence somewhere screaming. It was that Jack. I'm like, how do you not know who it was? Whoever it was that was making the replica belts back then, they sold a crap load of them because people like spinning titles. The Bloodline story is spinning forward, as we saw in the main event. A lot of moving pieces going on there, Mr. D'Angelo.
Yes, there is. I liked it. It was fun stuff. The ending moment of them all pointing up and everything like that, I thought was really well done. But yeah, and Solo, kind of showed a little bit of promo game on there too. I think he really got to highlight himself and stuff like that because Roman's like, hey, I only see challenge him to War Games. And he's like, I only see 5 of you, or I only see 4 of you, and then he counts, and he's like, Sami's our 5th. Sami does come out reluctant, looks conflicted, comes on in. Solo has Roman set up for a haluva kick, and bam, Solo gets it instead, right in the mush. And Sami aligns with the bloodline. So, yes, Robert, you've talked about what you think is going to happen, but this is a great setup either way. Whatever they decide to do here, it's really intriguing for War Games.
Wonderful way to set the table. The way that Solo was kind of bullying Roman Reigns like Mike Dexter in Can't Hardly Wait, when he's like, "You have people. You can't be a tribal chief for that. You're somebody more like nobody." Since we saw the breakup earlier in the episode, that was why I thought that opening segment was effective, and it was Roman trying to say like, "Let's do a one-on-one match, and I'll fight you for that Unifala." And then he's like, "No, man, we're doing War Games. You better go find some people." And then Sami coming out first, making it seem like he was going to align with Solo. Jimmy and Jay making the save. Sami ultimately with the happy, happy, joy, joy, and we all point to the sky. It's the same version of Bloodline we saw before, but this time you're supposed to cheer for them. And that means they're going to make a lot of money off merchandise for the next couple weeks with this new unified bloodline. We'll see what winds up happening at War Games. If they're going to add a fifth to each side, like they're kind of cagey about that. They're like, Sami's going to be our fifth. If it's 5-on-5, I mean, okay, so Jeff Henniger beats me right too. He goes, if it's 5-on-5 at War Games, could it be Cody and the original bloodline and Kevin Owens and the new bloodline? That's a possibility. That's intriguing to a degree, but then it's pulling Cody back into a bloodline feud that he's kind of escaped. He's been doing stuff in his own world.
It's a great point. Plus, there's rumors of Hikuleo, being ready to go too, or something like that. He could be the fifth for one of them. I don't know.
He could, but that's tough to introduce a new guy and make the audience believe that person truly belongs and fits in that spot.
It's a good point because there's a lot of elements already in play with that.
They could. Look, we've got time. It's Survivor Series is late this year. It's after Thanksgiving, the post-Thanksgiving tradition. It'll be on November 30th.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for turkey, Robin. I'm excited. Do you like Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving is. I'm excited. It's coming up in a couple weeks. I'm actually going to the Macy's parade, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Oh.
I've done it a couple years previously. I have family that live in New York, so we're all going to do a big Thanksgiving dinner. That'll be a hell of a lot of fun. And it's a chance for me to sit down and watch every year. I watch on Thanksgiving. I watch Home Alone.
Do you really?
That has been my tradition going way, way back when they used to have, Black Friday sales that actually mattered. As a little kid on NBC, the night of Thanksgiving, they would always air Home Alone starting like the year after it came out to promote the Sears Black Friday.
How about that?
And then it just became my every Thanksgiving, I'm going to watch Home Alone. I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun. We've got the kids involved into it, but it's a fun holiday. It's a good opportunity to get together with people that you love, like, tolerate, whatever it may be, and eat the only thing that really matters on Thanksgiving, which is canned cranberry.
Oh, I'm with you, Robert. I'm a late bloomer to that, but I like it a lot.
You need to see the ridges.
You can't beat that.
Look,
hey,
there's other interesting prospects that you can bring up for Thanksgiving. People come up with their little things, but speaking of prospects,
yes, WAID named a whole bevy of prospects this weekend. They went on a marathon here of announcing some names. I'll mention a couple of them, and Robert, if you know of any or you have any thoughts on them, you chime on in. We have Zeta Steel, we have Bryce Donovan, Cappuccino Jones, Jack Summit, also known as Jack Cartwheel, Zara Zekar, Sean Legacy, Marcus Mathers, and Sam Holloway from IWC, Ice Williams from ROW, and I believe the last one was It's Gail, and I'm not sure about that person. But Robert, CM Punk made mention of the names on his Instagram stories. MJF vouched for Bryce Donovan, told people to be shook about this one. So, any thoughts about these prospects and these initial announcements here going on?
Not super familiar with a lot of them, but I'm excited that they're now getting this opportunity, and this is what the WWID program is for. It's kind of, these are folks that we're going to keep an eye on, that we're going to look at. We're going to make sure that they have the opportunity to be trained properly, have the opportunity to in some degree, be financially compensated to continue working and honing their craft until such time as they feel they are ready to bring them into NXT, into the Performance Center. And then this winds up helping those independent promotions with which they are working, because now you're able to advertise a WWE ID prospect is going to be at this local show, which helps grow local promotions, helps grow regional awareness, and then people go and see them, and then they will follow their journey as they go into NXT, as they're on the CW, and as they become Raw and SmackDown superstars.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool idea. And it's, WWE spreading their tentacles out and making the most of this, from the NIL program to this. And some of the names I'm already familiar with, from Marcus Mathers to Zeta Steele, Sam Holloway, who I just saw this past weekend compete on the same card as my degenerate brother Marcus. So,
so the countdown is on until Marcus D'Angelo is part of the WWID. He may just skip the line.
He might.
He may enter the Rumble as the surprise entrant. But who's been a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble a number of times? Mr. Rob Van Dam.
That's right, guys. So, kind of a special announcement for today's episode of One of a Kind with RVD. Rob and I did not get a chance to record, but I did record an interview with Bret the Hitman Hart. We talked for an hour and a half about the legacy of Leo Burke, a Stampede wrestling veteran up there, and Bret has high praise for him. Talks about the influence from Edge, Christian, Ken Shamrock, Mark Henry. The list goes on with Leo Burke, and the master of ring psychology. So we talked for a whole hour and a half. That will drop on the podcast feed today. You can go check out, just subscribe to One of a Kind with RVD on any of your podcast feeds of choice, and that'll be there. But it'll also be up at 3 p.m. on OneTrueSportTV.com. So got to chat with Bret last week, and that was a lot of fun. So be sure to check it out. So he gives some added insight, too, about WrestleMania 13, about SummerSlam 92, Ken Shamrock getting into WWE, and the heat that he had with Shawn Michaels. So some interesting stuff. Be sure to check it out. So, Robert, you got working stiff.
Yes, would have loved to have known Bret's thoughts on Greg Gagne, but
I name dropped Greg Gagne during it. So there we go.
He's no Bruce, or he's no Smith Hart. Sad Bret rattling off people's names is always going to be fun. What was also fun was myself and Scott Chapman recording Working Stiff. The main show is up now wherever you get audio versions. You can get the same audio version of this show, Rumor and Innuendo, every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, in case you miss us live, where we're on a plethora of platforms. For some reason, one of them not up today, which is the Working Stiff YouTube page.
Oh, really?
Sure why. Way to go. Damn it, Dom. But yes, we're on YouTube, on ad-free shows, Rumor and Innuendo, and on X, on the WW Creative _ISH X account, as well as the SE Scoops X account. We are always so appreciative of the plethora of you who join, plethora twice in one promo, who join us live in the chat. And those of you that catch us later, we appreciate anything you guys do to help this show grow. Write a review, give it 5 stars, help that algorithm. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, build that bridge to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Reach out to and say, hey, I know we haven't gotten along in a long time, but you should go check out Rumor and Innuendo. It's a good time every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. We will be back here tomorrow to talk all things Monday Night Raw and some of the other happenings in the world of pro wrestling. So on behalf of the pantomiming Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Robert, you're my United States champion.